fine morning, of course. It's Wednesday, it's the big interview. And I told you earlier who our guest for the big interview is. And talking about him, I wish I had a profile video to play for you. But guess what? If we do play a profile video, we might not have enough time to ask all the questions that you sent in that we should ask him this morning. This man has grown so much. I've known him for about 15 years now. When I knew him, I was in insurance. He was in the media space. Little did I know I was going to come into the media space and he was going to go into the political space and rise so much. We are so proud of him. And I must say that getting the opportunity to interview him this morning is such a great honor. Good morning, Honorable Kojo Oppong.
Rosalie, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I haven't seen you in ages.
Ages. You know, since you went into politics, you got busy.
Yes,
which is understandable, though. But you could have still looked for me.
You are in media and you are also busy.
Okay, but this is not the first time I'm trying to interview you.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Yeah,
when I was at my previous place. But you know, the good thing is we're here today, like you said.
I'm here.
Yes,
and
thank you so much for honoring this invite.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I don't know where to start this from, though. It's a personality interview, but we got a lot of questions coming in, asking so many things. But, you know, I think the biggest thing is, did you ever think you were going to go into politics?
No, I didn't. I've always said that politics for me has been a blessed accident because it wasn't part of my career path. It was in 2014, 2015, when the then sitting member of parliament for the Afenyo-Markin constituency, David Oppong Nkrumah, announced that he wasn't going to run anymore. He had done 3 terms, wasn't going to run anymore. And the party was searching for a replacement, and I was impressed upon to put in my hat. And I did. I was just getting out of law school by that time. I had left media. I was just getting out of law school by that time, and I threw my hat in. I've been trying to do my best since that time.
But were you already a member, you know, of the party?
Oh yes. I was a patron of the party, a card-bearing member patron, but that in any way did not influence how I went about my journalism work. So when the time was ripe and the conversation came up, it was pretty easy for my executives to pay me a visit and say, we want you to give it a shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you know, when you were in the media space, there were a lot of conversations that went on. When you left the media space, there were a lot that was said as to why you left the media space. Today, I want us to speak about it briefly.
Fire.
What happened? Were you really told to go off air because of political issues, or you decided to leave?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
In fact, in all my days in media, you would not know where my political leanings were. Indeed, when I announced that I was exiting media, people were wondering, is he going to the BBC? Is he going here? Whatever. I had nothing to do with anything political. When eventually I issued a statement that I was going to run for political office and run on the ticket of the NPP, people were shocked. People were like, we thought this guy was NDC. We thought this guy was MPP, because I tried to do my work as professionally as I could without any bias whatsoever. Media was never part of my career trajectory. I studied economics and finance for my first degree. I did a master's in business administration, and my dream all along had been to run my private business.
Okay.
And that's why you would recall that about 15 years ago, even when I was working at Joy FM, I had my private office just down the street here, where I was running my advertising agency. So I'd always been interested in business. But around 2006, 2007, Mr. Kwesi invited me to come and work in multimedia. And when I came in, the initial conversation was that I was going to do about 5 years. That conversation then moved from where I was on the business desk, moved me up to host the morning show and news file, which then even took me on bigger platforms, hosting presidential debates, etc., with the current vice president. And then by 5 years' time, I went back to Mr. Chum and said, I think the 5 years is up, I've got to go. And he impressed upon me to stay, so I stayed a bit more. I think by about 7 years down the line, I went back to him and I said I wanted to resign. And he said, no, you are tired, you need a break. So take a little break. And
why did you want to resign?
Because it had never really been what I wanted to do.
So you were not happy doing it?
I was excited doing it.
Okay.
But my career ambition was to run my private business.
Or you could have combined it, because you had actually combined it.
I combined it. But at a point, I thought that my business needed a lot more time and attention from me.
Okay.
And that the media space was taking a lot of my time and attention. And what many people don't know is that, maybe you know, I'm a very shy person. Yes, I am able to do this work because of, may I say, the talents that God has given me and how I've honed that skill. But I would rather be quiet in my office crunching some numbers than, you know, be on the stage. So after about 5 years and then later about 7 years, I wanted to then let it go and then go back into media. So the first time I tried to resign, Chrissy was like, no, you are tired, you need a break. So we agreed to give it a year. Then a year afterwards, when I came back, that I wanted to resign and pay more attention to law school, he said he wasn't going to take my resignation letter. So he asked me to write a steady leave without pay. So technically on my file, that's what you see there, steady leave without pay.
So you didn't really resign?
You won't find resignation, you'll find steady leave without pay. And then I left to go to law school, finished law school, started working at Kolendi, Atefa and Amponsa. Today, Justice Kolendi, who was my pupil master, is on the Supreme Court bench.
Yep.
And it was right around that time that I was invited to come and run for political office, and then I had to go run for political office.
Which you're so proud of yourself, right?
I'm trying, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
It's turbulent, but one day at a time.
But you were one of the youngest ministers we've had in Ghana.
That is true.
You know, and filling that office, was it something that was easy for you because you were already in the communication space and, you know, being a minister for information?
It wasn't easy. First, at the age of 35, if you are made a minister in a country where people generally believe that young people should be seen and not heard, and that ministerial portfolios, etc., are for older people, there's already some prejudice against you. I'm in a conservative party where there's a lot of meritocracy, and you have the, you know, in a way, you're bad at being, in a way, one that didn't buy a kind of thing. So that also works against you. And then I was put in a particular place, which was leading government comms strategy. A lot of people confused that to think that I was a government spokesperson.
Right.
I wasn't. I was responsible for putting government strategy on comms together and assisting both the presidency and the ministries to communicate. And then you have your old colleagues in the media who are like, Charlie, but when they play football now, you know, you won't show bodies more, so you know, they'll come at you with all sort of stuff. But they are all growth pains. You put it all together, and you ask yourself, how best can I strategize to deliver without failing and without also being too obnoxious? You have to find your line of best fit, and I try to do that. So far, I think I've been the longest serving information minister.
Yes, you have.
And I tried my best in my period to balance it out. Sometimes when you are on a job, people will say all sorts of things. When you leave and others take the job and people watch over a while, then they can make a determination whether you did it well or not.
Ghanaians did come at you, you know, at a point in time. It was tough. For probably your family, but what about you as a person? Was it very difficult for you when, you know, anytime you come into the space, people start bashing you on social media, especially when this COVID brouhaha happened? Actually,
COVID wasn't a time when people came at me. It was when we went for the IMF program, and because as a party we had mentioned earlier that we'll go to IMF, and later we had to eat humble pie and go. People, and I was a spokesperson of government. In fact, I remember when we went to cabinet meeting that Thursday, and the decision was made. And the president called me and asked me to inform the country. And I left and I got home. I was sitting on my bed. My wife was like, this was now somewhere around 1 a.m. And my wife was like, Nawunda. I'm like, Charlie, wahala deal. She says, what's the problem? And I explained. And then she said, hey, Omubeku. You are coming to announce that we are going for Omubeku Nkrumah say. On the Friday morning, when I was supposed to issue the statement, I still couldn't issue the statement. So I recall calling Kwakye-Ofosu and a number of other colleagues in Parliament and on the Finance Committee, holding a meeting in my office and informing them. And when I informed them, you could see the shock on their faces. And then later we had to issue the statement around 11 o'clock that morning, because I wanted the morning shows to be over. I didn't want to disrupt the morning shows. So around 11, we issued the statement, and then the interviews, oh my God. So Saturday morning, Sunday evening, I had to come to Joy, and you know, the whole country came at me. You people, you said you won't go, now you're going. Attacks, insults here and there. But this is the job where, and thankfully because of my experience from hosting the morning show, where you get a bit of insult and attacks, but it's not like this one. But this is a job where you got to understand that if you're a striker like last night's game, and you are trying to make an offensive run from midfield towards the goalpost, you should expect that the defenders will tackle you. Some of the tackles will be harsh, but it's part of the game.
So you didn't really bargain for all these when you were taking that position, right?
They are tackles. You've got to take it in your stride. Yeah. If you think that they are malicious tackles, I mean, and I'm using football as an analogy, if somebody came with a double stamp towards your knee, that's a malicious tackle that could end your career. That one you have to protest and find a way to respond properly. But if it's a shove or a tackle here and there, you understand its part.
Oh, you did handle it well, though.
We did our best.
You did your best.
We did our best.
But were there times that you went back to cry?
No. I am not. I am an emotional person, but I take a while to decide what I'll do before I do it. And when I decide to do something, I've built the mental resilience. If you go to the statement that I issued on, I think the 5th of April, 2015, that I was going to run for political office, I was clear in it that it's not an easy space, but I'm clear that somebody has to do this job to help what we are doing. And I was going to do it, and I'm still doing it. So I take it in my stride.
And it's so, I don't even know how to put this. For you being vocal back then, speaking against IMF and all of that, now you had to announce to Ghanaians. I mean, when you said when the president told you it was tough for you, what did you tell the president at that time?
No, I was in the cabinet meeting.
And so what did you say? I mean, when they told you at that time, we just want to imagine what you said.
All the options were put on the table. Yeah. The economists, the advisors, they all came in, they showed us various scenarios. And the thing was that we had developed a program here in Ghana to get out of the financial crisis that had come out from COVID. Let me go back. You recall that 2017, when we came to power, we scrapped about 17 taxes.
Yeah.
And because we did that, the economy started growing. The economy grew from 3% to about 7% average for the first 3 years. We were doing well. And then 2020, COVID hit. The challenge we had was, or one of the challenges we had was that in COVID, we spent too much in our bid to protect the Ghanaian population. Free water, free electricity. Students are not going to school, but we are paying teachers. Even in the US, they were paying government workers at a discount.
Yeah.
We were paying everything. And government was not earning money. So we were borrowing money from the IMF, about $1 billion from the World Bank. By the time we finished and COVID was gone, around 2021, there was a big debt. And it made our debt unsustainable. So what we needed was a two-pronged strategy. One, a strategy that would raise money to close the debt. And so we introduced taxes, e-levy, COVID, a few other taxes. Sometimes I hear people say, but COVID is gone, why are we paying? It's because you needed to raise money to close the gap that had come. You see today, the new government, after they did all the politics, COVID levy is still there, though they've taken away e-levy. And
well, they claim that they will take it out.
But why not now? When Baumia said that he was going to take it off, they say, you should take it off now. Why is he waiting to come to power? Mahama has come to power. He says maybe next year he will take it off. So now you see the double standards. Anyway, let's put that aside. So we needed to introduce those taxes to mobilize money to close that gap. At the same time, we were short of Forex, or we're running short of Forex. So you needed what you call balance of payment support. You needed dollar. And so domestic taxes were good, but not going to be enough. But you also needed Forex. And so then we went to the IMF to give us some Forex, about $3 billion, to show up our Forex reserves so that the currency wouldn't depreciate too much, and then introduce taxes to raise revenue. They were very unpopular. Our colleagues on the other side used it for a lot of politics and campaign. And being the one to sell it was very difficult, very unpopular, but that's the job you have to do as government. Over time, I'm clear in my mind that over time, Ghanaians will begin to see that those decisions were not out of malice. But those decisions were necessary to contain the situation. Today, as the government has taken away some of the taxes that they promised, they are beginning to have difficulties on how to pay for some of the things. This morning, I heard my friend Mutala Mohammed sitting at the United Nations and now confessing that Russia and Ukraine created a global cost of living crisis which affected us in Ghana. I was like, hey, when did you know this? So I think over time, people will see. But as best as we could, we tried to serve in a balance. We're not being disrespectful to the Ghanaian people, trying to share as much information as we could. And as information minister, part of the difficulty was that you don't generate the information. So if you don't have the information, you don't have it. If they give you a wrong brief, that is the brief that you will share. Right as you're here, if your producers tell you that there's been an accident at 37, announce it and let's go to 37. And you announce that we go to 37 and there's no accident. Somebody will sit there and say, Rosalie, she's a liar, she's a liar. But it is the nature of the job, it's the information you've been given that you are working with. But over time, things will settle. People will realize.
Right. So at a point in time, will you say that your government regretted, doing all those things during the COVID time, where they had to pay teachers, where they had to pay electricity and water and all of that? Because in a way, when you had to raise these funds, it did affect you.
Yes. So in the end, when you had to raise money to close the gap, it did affect us. But should we not have done it earlier because of the consequences? I think that as a government, when you are faced with challenges, you try to respond as best as you can with the information available to you. At the time COVID came, who in this studio here was not scared? We were watching videos of countries where people were dying. We were here in this country, former presidents were dying, senior national persons were dying. If you are president, or you're a member of the COVID task force, you ask yourself, do I just sit back and fold my arms that I don't want to cause a financial crisis, so I won't go head on? You would throw, it's like being a parent. You would throw the wallet at the solutions. Even Germany, that had said that they will never be fiscally indisciplined. During COVID, Angela Merkel announced that throw the fiscals away and let's protect lives and livelihoods.
Okay.
So as a government at that time, you needed to do the responsible thing. Of course, that responsible thing came at a cost. There are many mothers who are putting their kids through school. And when it gets to a difficult time, they say, I'm going to sell my cloth and my TV and this. Why? Because I want to put my kid through school. Sometimes when you do it and that kid goes through school and he comes back home and he's not getting TV to watch, he may be upset at you and screaming at you, then a TV and Is it that you're going to say that because of that, you will not have sold the TV to take him through school? I think that you would still believe that that was the right thing to have done. Tomorrow, when he's a big man, he can buy you a TV.
Right.
Yeah, so the government needed to do what it did at the time. The government did not succeed in convincing the public that this was for our collective good.
So in that instance, you were the Minister of Information. You should have done the convincing, and you didn't do it well.
I wasn't the government spokesperson. Okay. I was responsible for putting government comms strategy together. Yes. And as I mentioned, the whole of government has to come together to deliver its information. We were not successful as a government in convincing the public that all of these things we did were in the interest of the public. There was a lot of propaganda that was done also against us. I mean, if I, again, go back to Mutale's video where he says that if they say that it's Russia and Ukraine, it's not true. They are robbing you. These things, when you say it, then people, so even if the government is selling its message, then people are not listening to that. At a point, you had media practitioners who you believed should be fair, telling the public the truth, who then took a position, I don't want to mention names, but will go on there and say all sorts of things that were not true, just to, populate a certain narrative in the public. And it all worked against us. No problem. It's all part of a democracy. Today, we are in opposition. Someone else is in government.
But I think
he has an opportunity to deliver on his promises. He has an opportunity to live true to the things that he spoke about. So if in those days you said that international economic development cannot affect the local economy, why is the president saying today that Trump's tariffs can affect the Ghanaian economy?
Tariff, yeah.
Hey, I thought you said it's not true. Why is Mutala now saying that, Russia and Ukraine had an impact on the Ghanaian economy? Over time, the public will see that you were only doing propaganda for the purposes of winning power.
But then again, when we look at the things that probably made people not too happy, one of the biggest things is the DDEP.
Yes, that's true.
Could they have been avoided?
The DDEP was a necessary evil because at the time, our debt had gone a bit beyond the bar.
What caused it?
I told you, during COVID. So our debt escalation was caused by three major things. The last one being COVID that broke the camel's back. The very first thing that contributed to our debt was what we call the take-or-pay contracts signed for energy by the previous administration. You recall that we announced that we are paying about $1 billion a year for energy we are not using. And they told us that but if you have excess energy, supply it to some country and collect money. What if that country doesn't want the energy? But they had saddled us with take-or-pay options. You had to pay about $1 billion for energy you were not using. And if you said you won't pay, the IPPs, you saw it from now and then, they will issue a statement that will shut down the plants. We had to be borrowing to pay for energy that we had not consumed because those take-or-pay capacity charges, you can't pass it on. PURC won't allow you to charge Rosalind for it because she has not consumed the power. Why are you adding it to a light bill? So the government has to go and borrow money to pay. That was one. Two was the banking sector or the financial sector resolution. Not our fault, challenges in the financial sector. As a president, you had two choices. Do I sit back and let all these banks collapse and all these jobs collapse? Or do I borrow money and inject to save these banks? So the government borrowed money to inject and consolidate these banks so that the jobs in these banks will be saved and people's deposits. Today,
in the public eyes, it wasn't like that.
Because, like I'm saying, a lot of propaganda was done against it, as best as you would explain.
But there are a lot of people who lost their jobs out of this.
So take 10,000 people working, and the banks have run aground. And as a result, many of the banks, you had friends in banks, they couldn't even pay salaries. People go for money, they couldn't even pay. And the government says we're going to inject or borrow money and inject to save these banks and save deposits. You remember, nobody actually lost their deposits in the banks. So the government borrowed billions to save the deposits. And by the time they consolidated, out of the 10,000, let's say 2,000 people lost their jobs. I'm just using that as a number. That 2,000 is a lot of people. But would we have wanted to lose all the 10,000 jobs? So the government had to do something. I ended up saving 8,000, lost 2,000 jobs. Somebody will come and say 2,000 people lost their jobs and they collapsed their banks. Meanwhile, they had consolidated the banks and saved about 8,000 jobs. It's about, is a glass half full or half empty? No problem. So in the end, that had become another debt. And then you had COVID, where you had to borrow heavily to shore up the Ghanaian economy. All of these decisions were made in the interest of the Ghanaian people. Unfortunately, at the time, a lot of propaganda, people who were supposed to even be independent arbiters either decided to turn a blind eye or, change some of the things. It all came together, and like I said, our narrative was not accepted at the end of the day. But it's part of democracy, no problem. Today we are here. They are the ones who have an opportunity to deliver. And that's why, for example, in Parliament now, we've been drawing their attention first to some of the legitimate mistakes that we made. Anytime I'm on my feet, like Dr. Baumia said, we should be constructive. Where we went wrong, we say it openly.
Where did you go wrong?
There are some of the things we should have done earlier.
Like what?
For example, the gold purchase program, we should have done it way earlier. The gold for oil program, we should have done it way earlier. Some of those things, they are lessons that we have learned. Last time I was telling the Deputy Minister for Finance that when you're in government, sometimes you think everything people say, you should defend it and respond and explain. Sometimes you should listen. If you listen, you get free advice. Look at what is happening with this suspicious flights matter. Somebody has come as a whistleblower and has drawn your attention to the fact that 2 suspicious flights have come in. Investigate and, ensure that the facts are put out there. The government appears more interested in attacking him, calling him names. Last time I was seeing on social media, you had ministers of state calling him Osofumoko and all sorts of disparaging remarks. You are not listening. Because you see, if you don't pay attention and investigate, you may not even know that one of your acolytes or somebody down the line is doing something funny.
Right.
So listen some more. All of those are lessons we've learned, and we are drawing the government.
And that's why you fell short. At a point, you felt you were not listening.
Oh, no. I thought that we could have listened a bit more. Yes, listened a bit more. I thought that there were things that, to everybody.
Okay.
I thought that there were things that we could have done earlier. Like I mentioned, the gold for oil program, the gold purchase program, those were things that we could have done, Do you think you should have even done the e-levy at all? You needed to raise revenue. You notice that this government has brought about 4 new taxes. But because of the propaganda and the fact that some of the media people are still in that mood, they're pretending they haven't seen it. 4 new taxes. Some of the old taxes they said they were talking of, they were 0 rated. Nobody was, you were in insurance. Nobody was paying VAT on motor insurance. The government has announced that it has removed VAT on motor insurance. The fiscal impact of that is 0. Because nobody was paying it. Emission levy, then they will put a name on it. A Wusie tax, nobody was paying it. You get my point? So every government has to raise revenues. And over time, the facts are becoming clear.
But do you think that the fact that you were raising tax through this e-levy was one of the things that probably you shouldn't have done?
No, the government believed at the time that it was one of the ways to go to raise money to close the gap.
Okay.
And when we brought it to Parliament, I'm sure you heard, if you want to see the true test, find out what the minority did, whether they voted against
the e-levy or not.
Not what they said, what they did, whether they voted against all of these revenue measures. Sometimes they say, you borrowed too much. They were there. They did not vote against any of those transactions.
Kojo, did you see the losing of the NPP coming?
You see, if you are a politician, you must be clear in your mind that when you're going for an election, you can win or lose. Any politician who says, I'm going into an election 100% convinced that I will win, is not being truthful. You could win or you could lose. So you go into an election with two minds, and you do your best to win.
But did you see it coming?
It was 50-50.
It was 50-50?
It was 50-50.
But were you surprised with the percentage?
No, but if it's 50-50, then you could win, you could lose.
Yes.
When President Kufuor ran the first time, he got 39%. Dr. Bawumia got 41%. So, yes, we were hoping to win. We were hoping to win a majority in Parliament. It didn't happen. And I keep saying, it's part of politics. All of that is water under the bridge. Now we are an opposition party. We intend to be a very responsible opposition party. For example, this week we've been doing a lot of work on the tariffs that have been imposed in the US, which we think the government is not responding to seriously enough. We will draw their attention. They are in government. They have to deliver. As to how the game goes, yesterday Arsenal won.
Yeah, 3-0.
Was it 3-0?
Yeah.
Against Real.
Yeah, 3-0.
Somebody will say that is shocking. It's part of football.
Okay.
But they're going to go for the other side of the game, and we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talking about that, a few members of your party who are, not just mere members of the party, but these are force to reckon with in the party, are not too happy with what is happening in the party. And I know your General Secretary has said he's going to do everything possible to bring the party together. So in a way, the party is a bit disoriented. Looking at what is happening between the party and even Honorable Adjo Asafo, what do you have to say about it?
First of all, I don't think any single person can bring the party together. Anybody going around saying that is going to bring the party together should stop saying it. All of us must understand that we have to collectively work together. I think it was B.J. Darocha, one of the stalwarts in our party, who said that we don't have to be friends to work together. Too many times, people have reason to fight because they don't like one another. In politics, you don't have to like one another or be friends to work together. We must understand that the success of a political enterprise is our ability to come together and work together to pursue a common objective. That's number one. Number two, there must be discipline. The fact that I like you does not mean that if you are indisciplined in the party and you are not helping the effort to work together, we should gloss over it or brush over it. No, we have to ensure that there's discipline at any point in time. If you are my friend or my associate or my colleague, and in this enterprise you are doing something that is untoward, we should be able to crack the whip regardless of whose ox is God. The day we don't do that is the day favoritism and all this chaotic behavior takes place. So what I'm happy about is that there's a recognition that we have to come together, we have to heal wounds, we have to reform as a party. There are some things that we have to improve upon and change. Some of the systems we put in place today, we put them in place 25 years ago. Have they outlived their usefulness? Do we, build upon it? All of these things are the things we have to focus on doing so that our party will be better understood. Some people will say more attractive. I would say better understood. So that next time we are going to the polls, Ghanaians can understand that these guys were not as evil as these guys painted them out to be. In fact, the decisions that these guys made were actually in our interest. It was because at the time these guys were looking for power, they told us so many stories and we gave the power to them. But now over time, we've realized that these guys are not as bad. For example, a lot of the young people who were either looking for jobs or were being employed, we told them that this NDC government, if you vote for them, when they come, they will sack you. President Mahama said, oh, if you, 24-hour economy. I'm sure you remember. When they came to power, the first thing they did, thousands of people have been sacked. This morning I was reading, I think the Ghana Maritime Authority, now from the presidency, they write letters to Director of Finance to sack them. Unprecedented, never happened before. So over a while, you have to ask yourself, so was this thing true or not? I keep saying, one of their most popular promises was the Women's Bank. When we said, let's do a fund, they said, let's do a bank.
Women's Bank, yeah.
Did you see how much money they gave to the Women's Bank? 51 million cedis. Then they gave 100 million cedis for capex, buying cars, computers, and other things at the Office of Government Machinery. Which one is more important to you? So after a while, the women of Ghana will ask themselves that the song may be nice, the Queen Queen song may be nice, but did they deliver the Women's Bank? The song may be nice, but did it deliver the jobs? Look at the economy. This economy that they said is criminal, is bad. We grew it by 5.7%. That one, even Ghanaians say it wasn't good enough. Go home, NPP, no problem. The finance minister says that this is his program. When the Ghana Statistical Service took the program and calculated it, they said it will do 4.4, it will bring the economy down. In fact, though he said 4.4, when you go into the figures, it's 4.0. he's going to grow the economy by, when we did 5.7, after a while, Ghanaians will ask themselves that, there's another song that we had, or the Asempa Nabo. Is this Asempa Nabo?
Are we not judging them a bit too early? It's only 4 months into power.
In Chi, we say that Agrobeswa, if you are not pa. If the evening dance will be exciting, the morning preparations will show. When you are going for an engagement at 10 o'clock, and you get there at 10:30 and they are now fixing chairs, it may look early that, oh, they haven't started the program, but you should start worrying that now they are almost at 10 o'clock, no, maybe do have 10:30, I feel I'm kunya. So the early signs are a bit worrisome. But even more altruistically, we have just left power. We have seen what it takes to succeed and fail. That's why the Bible says that sit by an old general who has gone to war and hear his war stories, you will learn. We have seen what it takes to succeed and fail. Last time we were telling them in Parliament that when you start working early, in our first year, free SHS, 1D, 1F, one village that, even those ones that we started in 2017, they were hala.
So then it brings me
So if you don't pay attention to starting your programs early, and you are just interested in sacking people, Japa should raid this one's home, this one should do this one.
Then it brings me
I'm coming. If you spend your time doing all of those ones, you will realize that by 2026, 1 year is gone, hey, we haven't done anything. And that is why we are drawing the attention that, Charlie, pay attention to the work. Else these things. Listen, there were times when in our day, we spent all our time, and Mahama has done this, and Mahama has done this. After a while, the unemployed guy who is sitting at home, he will tell you, and I said to the tour about Mahama, no. You are spending your time and Akufo-Addo has done, Akufo-Addo. We have seen it too. That's why we are telling you. If you say you won't listen to us, if you fail, politically we are happy, but it's not good for Ghana.
Right.
And so we will draw your attention. And Dr. Bawumia has been clear that, guys, as you are going to Parliament, be constructive. Where we learned, where we made mistakes, show them. If it works for Ghana. If they say they won't listen, that one you can't beat them.
Right. I was going to ask you, you said in the first year you did a free SHS, you did 1D, 1F, one village, one down. You did well. But then again, don't you think that you rushed and that's why Ghanaians came at you? Because it looks like you didn't really take your time to have it roll out well. You just rushed because you had promised, and so you needed to get done.
You see, you have only 4 years in government. If you look at Ghana's democratic framework, you have 4 years in government. The first year, by the time you come, the previous government would have done what we call an expenditure in advance of appropriation. You will bring your budget around March or April. By June, you are bringing mid-year. By November, the year is gone, you are bringing the next year's budget. If you don't take care, year one, you can't do anything. Year 4, by the time we get into February, you'll be here. You will launch, election headquarters has just been launched. We are going to put that final year, not much is getting done, Rosalind. Everybody, the district chief executive that you are calling that I need this, he's going on campaign. The ECG MD that he's going on campaign. The Narcotics Control Board boss who should be sitting, he's going on campaign. So that final year, not much is happening. So if you are serious about governance, effectively you have 2 years. So it is important that you put your best effort in the first year, where you have a lot of political capital and goodwill, so that you can get more done. If you don't and you think that you are going to wait, you will wait till 2026, that'll be your second year. Your own supporters will now start getting this grant that, campaign, now more by 2 years. Meanwhile, this one's wife has been appointed as MD of Consolidated Bank. This one's brother has been appointed at SNIT. This one's cousin has been appointed. You think the foot soldiers, they don't see it? They see it. Then they'll say, okay, be a. So it is important that in your first year, you put your best.
It seems like, because it looks like this advice you're given is because you have been there.
But this is, I'm telling you.
Because it looks like the NPP also did something similar, and so, you've been there, you have realized that this was wrong. The foot soldiers were not happy.
Dr. Bawumia told us clearly, go there as a constructive opposition. Go there and work for Ghana. The lessons that we have learned, where we didn't get it right, don't be shy. Put it. You should watch us from Parliament. Whenever we get up on our feet, we don't hide it. We say it. Mr. Speaker, this thing that we did, it didn't work. And they are repeating. Look at the gold board. We told them that, listen, when we came, we had a brilliant idea that we wanted to do $1 million per constituency. I'm sure you heard it. We were advised that use the district assembly to share the money. We said, no, we'll create Middle Belt Development Authority and Coastal Belt Development. We created new institutions. In the end, the new institutions became bureaucracy. We're looking for chief executive, we can't find him. Accountant, we're fine for consultant, we can't find him. Then the money doesn't get disbursed. You have come to power, you say you want to reorganize how gold is exported. You need to create a new institution. So if we who have done it and it didn't work for us, we are telling you that you don't have to create a gold board. You have enough institutions to do it. And you say you won't listen. But Rosalinda, what can we do? But our job is to draw your attention to it that you don't need to create a gold board. You can use MIF and PMMC and the other institutions to get the job done.
Is NPP bringing Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia back as a
we haven't even gone for Congress. We are now starting with the process of identifying, though anecdotally we have an idea, we are now going through the process of identifying empirically why a lot of our supporters did not turn up to vote. We have an idea, but you have to empirically identify. Okay. And then after that, we will go for conference. So it's early days. I've seen the numbers that Musa Dankwa, for example, has put out that he's in pole position now, and that even across the country, he's sitting about 48%. Yeah. Meanwhile, he got 41% in the election. Are you seeing what is happening? And that even in the party, he's the most favored. I've seen all of those. And those may all be facts that we look at, but we would like to take our things one day at a time. Okay. We'll get there.
Do you think a new face, as in the new leadership, a new leadership for the NPP will also help?
We haven't even reached that stage. As I mentioned, we are going
I know you haven't reached there, but you have a leadership. You lost under the leadership. Do you think a new leadership will help?
But the question is, did we lose because of the leadership?
You don't think it's so?
Well, you have to gather the...
Some of your members have said so, though.
Yeah, but you have to gather the empirical information and take a decision based on it. If you don't have the empirical information, you say somebody said, you may end up taking a wrong decision. If you're at home with your girlfriend or your wife and you say, I'm leaving you because somebody says that you have done that, you may lose so get the facts. Even if somebody says something, get the facts.
But you are in the party, though. But
we don't have the facts. That's why the Okwe committee is working on getting the facts. Then when we have the facts, we're able to take the necessary decisions.
Okay, that's great. But you think you're coming back in 2028?
We are hopeful. You know, in Ghana's political history, you can deceive yourself. In 2004, after President Kufuor had done just 4 years, Metro Mass, HIPIC, capitation grant, President Kufuor was in a row. You see how we struggled in the 2004 election? 2009, when President Mills came, he had passed. There was so much sympathy for candidate Mahama at the time, who was then, acting president. And everybody thought he was going to win it, like that. Did you see the wahala? He ended up in the Supreme Court. They couldn't even identify the pink sheets. For us, our first term in 2020, our margin had dropped from about 1 million to about 500. Do you see the point I'm making? Yeah. So even at 4 years, Ghanaians start looking, by 1.5 years, they start making up their mind that this thing, is it going to help us or not help us? So it is not impossible. We've had it before. Presidents have lost in one term. One term. It's about how the opposition gets itself better understood. It's about how...
Is the president losing or is the party losing?
Both. It's a scale. So it's
because if you look at it, the party didn't lose in 1 year. The party lost in 8 years.
Well, but if you look at the trend, you look at the sharp drop of votes after 4 years, it should tell you something.
Yeah, I understand, but to be fair here, we don't vote for the president, we vote for the party, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. We vote for the president, and whoever is on the top of the ticket has a very huge influence on how the entire ticket
Kojo, if you say this, then somebody watching
but I'm just
will
landing on my first point.
I
so
get you.
4 years is not impossible. It's about how the opposition does its work and about how the government also does its work.
But with what you just said, somebody watching at home will say that, okay, if you're voting for president, then you're saying that, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia leading the party was also a contributing factor for your loss.
No, I didn't say that. I said that the candidate has a heavy bear on how the ticket looks. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was running against President Mahama. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was more or less an incumbent. People were seeing him as an incumbent. And President Mahama was being seen as a former president who was offering an alternative. And Ghanaians made a decision based on that. For the next election, for example, John Dramani Mahama will not be on the ticket. Yeah. Assuming it is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he is now a former vice president. So he's now in the place of, he's now a former vice president. Who are they bringing from the other side? And how do Ghanaians weigh these two? And who is the incumbent here? All of those factors will matter.
Do you have presidential ambitions?
No, I don't. Even politics, as I've told you, is a blessed accident that I have found myself in. Just like how media. my thing is that when you give me a job, I do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, we've seen that.
And when I think that my time is up, I bow out and I move on. So media, I did it. Politics, I'm doing it. When my time is up, I'll bow out and then I'll...
You knew when your time was going to be up in the media space. So do you know when your time is going to be up in politics?
Yes,
you do?
I know it.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're on TV, so I'm not going to ask you.
I won't even tell you.
I know, that's why I said we're on TV, because I don't expect you to tell me.
Yes, I do.
But I see.
I do. You must know when to leave the stage.
You leave when the applaud is loudest?
You must know when to leave the stage. So,
how is your... Well, they said there's a TV station that you own. How is it doing?
No, I don't own a TV station. I own a radio station in Achimota. It's called Achimansa FM.
All right. Yeah. So those were allegations that you owned a TV station?
In politics, you will hear a lot of stories being thrown at you. I'm sure you've read quite a number of those stories.
About myself, yes.
Well, even about me. Yeah. But even about you, I'm sure you've read some. If you say you follow those ones, you won't sleep.
Right. Okay, I didn't know this. So if you're ever invited by the NPP to be the, the running mate for the flag bearer, you would deny?
Don't lead me into temptation.
I'm just asking.
Don't lead me into temptation.
I'm just asking. You were invited to do media. You came into the media space, invited into politics.
No. I've been invited to do several other things that I have not done. You will consider and...
Could you be very smart?
Oh, no. I'm giving you...
no, because it looks like almost everything that you've done so far that we've spoken about, media, chanced upon it, politics, same.
Yeah, because that's me. When you give me something to do and I decide that I will do it, I do it to the best of my ability.
Running mates.
My point is, there are many other things that I have not told you that I was invited to do, but I declined. So you are leading me into speculation.
Do you think Felix Kwakye is doing well?
It's a very difficult job to be responsible for putting government communications together. And if they add to it the fact that you are the spokesperson, it's a very difficult job. He's doing a very, very, very difficult job, one of the most difficult jobs in government. He's a very good friend of mine. I wish him well. He's been put in a difficult place because my experience is that job, you need what I'll call a senior advisor to the president responsible for putting comms together. Let me explain. If you make the topmost person in comms a minister, when other ministers are creating comms problems, he can't call them to order. He can't even report it to the president for action to be taken. They will come at him. When I drew the president's attention to the fact that Professor Frimpong Boateng has gone to grant an interview that excavators that were seized for Galamsey are missing, and it is creating a PR nightmare for government. So let's find out, is it true or not true? If it's true, then we have to investigate and punish the people. If it's not true, then he's a very old person, very respected person. He has to be called to order. You saw eventually what he said about me, that me doing Galamsey in my constituency became. That's the kind of difficulty you have if you're a minister and they are ministers and you are drawing attention. So you need somebody higher, somebody who sits at the table with the president, who can call ministers and discipline them for creating communication challenges. Half of the problems in governance are communication challenges. So that's one. Number two, where you sit, do you have all the information? If you don't have all the information, and sometimes you are even doing your best. Look at this Ahmed matter. So he came out with an explanation that the flight was on its way to, I think, Luanda, and that the people were for crew rest, and then they had a problem when they came. With the tie and all. Now it is turning out that the flight never even went to Luanda. I don't think he cooked up that story. I believe it's a brief that he was given. Do you get my point? I will defend my brother Felix any day that no, he's not a liar that he's come to say there to lie. It's the information he was given. And he has put that information out, and that information is not correct. But he should have done due diligence. But if you are doing due diligence and the person decides to lie to you, what are you going to do? You are not the one in charge of the airport. You are not the, you call that, I'm calling from director of comms at, Jubilee House. This problem has come, we have to respond, bring me a brief. And they've brought in it that the flight was on its way to Luanda and they were going to do crew rest. And it's not true. How will you know? You can even check if the people who are giving you the brief are telling you something. How will you know? You are only a government spokesperson. So you mouth these words and then people will say, this guy is a liar. Do you get my point? So Felix is doing a very difficult job. I wish him well. Is he doing well? Honestly, he's doing his best. Time will tell whether he's doing well or not. I told you I did my best as information minister. Time will tell when I'm no longer there, you've appointed 5 or 6 other information ministers, and now you look at the whole thing, then you'll be able to tell whether I did a good job or not. So he's doing his best. Time will tell if he's doing well or not, but I can only wish him well. It's a very difficult job. It's brutal.
It's brutal. The way you're saying it's brutal, then you really went through a lot.
It's brutal.
So when you take, Minister of Information and Minister of Works and Housing, which one did you enjoy most?
Oh, I enjoyed both.
Okay.
Information put me at a place where I understood the whole of governance. Because one moment you are sitting in a security meeting about Boko. Another moment you are in a briefing about terrorists who are suspected to have come from Ivory Coast and, there's an operation to try and find them and you are waiting for another moment. Some Canadian girls have been kidnapped in Kumasi and throughout the night you are getting briefs almost every 30 minutes. We have found a house, we are going to the house and now we are preparing how do we communicate. How, if they kill one of the girls, how are you going to explain this? Another moment, the finance minister is calling you that, listen, the fiscal tables are in and the deficit is now gone to 3% and we are doing very well. And then contractors are also calling that, no, they are doing well because they haven't paid us. How do you balance all? So information was exciting because I got to understand the whole of governance.
Right.
Works and housing was also very interesting because you could get your hands dirty. There were times, maybe you guys didn't see it, there were times when I'll go to construction sites for state housing projects and of course, I don't do it full time, but the workers are like, oh, honorable. I'll pick the chauffeur. I'll tell them that. I used to do pongpo in Landio, so I'll pick and I'll do a bit with them. You could get your hands dirty. So it had its own, levels.
But Charlie, people are not too happy about Saglemi housing, though.
Yes.
People wish you had completed those houses.
Yes.
So what happened?
So Saglemi was a scenario in which the government of Ghana took a loan of $200 million. To be used to build 5,000 units. They paid the people took the money, and they delivered 1,506 uncompleted. Some were completed, some were not completed. That's the first thing people should be unhappy about. That's the first thing. Anybody who wants to talk about it, the first thing you should say is that the people who took the money or who paid the money and didn't deliver the 5,000, that's our first point of unhappiness. You realize that the people who were on trial, when this new government came to power, it has filed a nollie proscribed that nobody should be tried. People are not angry about that. People want to forget that one. That's number one. Number two, during the NPP's tenure, on my watch, we went through a whole very transparent process, selected a private developer with his own money to go and finish, and we handed over the site to the private developer. Before I left office, we signed the heads of terms and handed over the site. It was when the private developer was clearing the place and burning some of the bushes that some parts of the exterior caught fire, and there was even some fake news that the whole Saglemi is on fire because Oppong Nkrumah wants to hide some information or something. So we had put contractors on site. My understanding is that they are still there. The new government, I understand, halted so many things that they were going to look into all sort of things. The earlier they finish that and let the contractors finish the project, the better. But anybody who wants to be unhappy should start from being unhappy about those who took the 200 million and didn't finish the project and have been left off the hook, and should start being unhappy about why the project, though contractors were made available, has not moved. I think that if we do all of this, we can move it and finish for people to benefit from it.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, and so we have a video. I want you to take a look at the video.
Okay. Yes. Which screen should I watch?
That one.
Okay.
Okay, we are going to try and get the video for you.
Very well.
But then, what do you do to relax?
Movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Marlon Brando in the Godfather trilogies, part 1, part 2, part 3. I've watched it like 30 times. I could spend the whole, Sunday afternoon watching the whole Godfather trilogy.
Okay, we are ready with the video. Okay, you can look at the screen though. All right, let's see.
He was a mentor. I wake up every morning with my TV on the BBC. And, sometimes there are times when you wake up and you really don't feel like coming to work. But you see him out there on the screen, and he's confident and he's still speaking. And it gives you the urge to come out and to come and do what you have to do. I'm sorry, but I'm in tears, but I think it's so unfair to see a young man at the prime doing so well and and for him to be snatched like how he was snatched from us. My thoughts go to his wife and to his children and to the family that have lost a great man. I think Africa has lost a great ambassador. He's irreplaceable. But if there's anything that all of us in this can learn, I think it's about his...
I mean, talking about your mentor at that time and taking a look at this video, I know it brings back memories.
A lot of memories. This is the morning after Komla Dumo died, and it was so painful. It still is. Anytime I see his family, it still is very painful. I knew his wife and his kids. He was a big mentor to me eventually when I took on the job. And when I took on the job, when I would go to London, himself and maybe Kwakye-Ofosu would spend some time together. And he was at the prime. I mean, after the Olympic Games and everything, Komla was the trailblazer taking Africa to the world. And he was taken away from us. It still is, a very sore point, not just for me, but I know for many people. The BBC's done well in institutionalizing an award in his name, which would outlive his time. And like I keep saying, what we need to do, those of us who are left, those of you who are in the industry now, is to learn the lesson. One of the things that Komla taught me was excellence. Komla would always say to you that, you know, it's never enough to say that, oh, this is how we do it. Oh, but here, this is how we do it. No, no, no. You have to imagine that you are competing against the whole world. And let excellence be a hallmark. So today at my law firm, one of the values that we have is excellence. And he was a big inspiration to me, and I know to many other young people in media and in life generally.
You keep saying that he was taken away by death? Or
yes.
Did you feel at a point in time
no, taken away by death. And I dare say by the rigors of the job. People don't know that these jobs that we do are very difficult. Look at the time that you have to get here in the morning and prepare and come. And people see you on TV and they're like, oh, she's enjoying. She's just looking nice and enjoying, chopping big money. They don't know what you have to go through. They also don't know how lonely and emotionally draining the job is. A lot of people have different expectations of you, but it's a very difficult job. And sometimes when you put yourself out there to be of service, I am of the view that you are giving yourself to the country or to the society to be of service. And if that service takes you away, it's hurtful.
Yeah, very. Let's go on a brighter side. Let's see this video.
It's 20 minutes to 10 on the Super Morning Show. That's Superhuman with Chris Brown and Kerry Hilson in the background. It's just bringing us closer to 10 on the Super Morning Show.
Oh my goodness, I just love what I saw.
This is a video that Kofi Ansah did. I think myself and Atoko Aminadazi just finished the newspaper review, and you know, we bond a lot. We had a lot of fun in the studios. This is the old Joy FM studio. So the other time I was talking to somebody who was like, we are Joy. I said, I keep quiet. You don't know the small studios that we started from. Yeah, this is the old studio. And we used to have a lot of fun. You know, was
that one of your favorite songs?
It was one of the songs.
Superhuman.
It was one of the songs that we played. You know, around, I think this was around 2009 there. Yeah. You know, we used to have a lot of fun.
And you've done so well. We celebrate you today. And, you know, you are a force to reckon with. We still see you as a media person, though.
I am a media person.
Because you can't leave.
No.
You know, will you ever become a TV host again or a radio host? Or
You know, there are times when I go on my radio station in Oda, I go on air.
Oh, really?
To host. In fact, I think last December, I hosted the breakfast show
Oh, that's
there,
nice.
you know. And I was teaching the young ones, like, people, you think you are killers here. We've been here before.
We've been here before.
No, but, you know, as and when I get the opportunity, I do. But the younger people have a lot more talent, better ideas. I've always believed in giving younger people, even at my young age.
Yeah.
So in those days, Beda Nasser Saibu had then come in. We gave him Fridays to do.
Yeah,
So I'll do Monday to
remember.
Thursday, and then we'll give him Friday to do. And I've always believed in giving younger people an opportunity. And the younger people have a lot more energy, a lot more ideas. So I think it's good for them to have the space. Occasionally, we can come in and do one or two things.
Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, we celebrate you today. Thank you
Thank you
so
for having
much.
me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you too. And, you know, this will go into my records.
Mine as well.
Yeah,
so
thank
you're
you.
doing very well. I've been watching you, but this is my first time,
Yes.
you know, being interviewed by you.
Yeah, because the first time we met, I was in insurance, like I said.
Yes,
and
AQIC.
AQIC.
Yes,
and,
yes.
You know, we met.
Yeah.
You never knew I'll be on TV one day.
I spoke to Bomba this morning, actually,
Yeah.
on something else. I was talking to him on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. He's
Great.
misbehaving all over the place.
My greetings to him. Anyway, thank you so much once again.
Thank you for
We're super
having me.
grateful.
Thank you.
And his name is Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. He says that he doesn't have presidential ambitions, but hey, who knows tomorrow? God's ways are not our ways. And so if God says that he's going to be the president of Ghana, it could happen. Maybe I just prophesy. I like how he laughed to it. He's like, it means that he's not looking at that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching Prime Morning today. And big greetings to your people.
Yes. So to my colleagues from Abanase, Ofuase, Yorubichia, Kokwaso, Ochereso, and all of the places. I'll see you this weekend.
Great. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day. Today's a Wednesday. We have changes coming your way at exactly 1 p.m. Don't miss it. My name is Roslyn Fairley. I did this with KMJ and Siedu Akomia. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Like I can do anything. Going, I'm